still think he's the one?
This boy has the empathy to think like a Formic. To understand them, anticipate them.
He's not ready.
You're never ready. Top test scores in class, highest battle room ratings. How'd you like to lead your own army?
A great responsibility rests upon each of you. When the enemy first invaded, we were not ready. Millions of innocent lives were lost. We threw everything we had at the invaders.
And the alien attack nearly destroyed us. That must never be allowed to happen again.
If there's a chance that because of you, the Formics might leave us alone forever, then I have to ask you to come with me. We need minds like yours, Ender. You'll be the finest commander we've ever trained.
Thought we were going back to battle school.
We're not.
Where are we going?
Much further.
It's no longer a game.
Still think he's not ready?
When it's over, what will be left of the boy?
What does it matter if there's nothing left at all?
War's the game where you get to reboot and start over. That can't happen, understand?
Do everything I can to win. I'll do everything I can to win this war.
And now, a very desperate summary of Ender's Game. There is this kid called Ender. Now, keep in mind, he lives in a futuristic society. Some may call it utopia for its groundbreaking technology, and others call it a dystopia for its ongoing war against aliens. Back to Ender. Ender lives in a place where people are just not normal. He lives in a sci-fi, to be specific. In a sci-fi, it is not out of the ordinary for a person to have these monitors sticking at the back of their heads, monitoring everything they say, see, smell, touch, or do. Basically, these monitors check to see if you are good enough to join the military in your early childhood. It is not unordinary to be in ownership of these monitors. Well, that is until you cross a certain age. Even society considers it abnormal for someone to have these monitors at age 6. This is where Ender Andrew Wiggins comes in. At age 6, Ender lives his life as an outcast among outcasts. But it does not stop here. Ender also happens to be a third child, a very rare phenomenon. Normally, one must have the government's permission to even have 2 children. Ender's family is special though. His older brother and sister have performed outstandingly well in the past, but even they did not retain their monitors when they turned 6. If learning how to perform most arithmetic functions at age 2 didn't make him a victim to bullying, this probably did. His brother bullies him, his classmates bully him, his neighbors bully him, even the bystanders do. The special thing about this bullying and the reason Ender is still in one piece is because nothing physical ever happens. The reason being that monitor at the back of his head monitors all. What happens when you just take off the monitor that monitors everything around him at such a crucial time? Everyone around him now has the potential to break him. If having to be the bugger that got beaten up by his brother for sport was bad, this situation is just as good as getting your wrist stuck in a Pringles tin. that Ender's monitor was not removed because he wasn't good enough to keep it. That all that's happened to him right now is really a test. A test by the people in the dark. No doubt, the adults behind it all became satisfied after seeing Ender out in the cold, and he learns how to warm himself back up. Until, of course, he is confronted by his class bullies. He got his monitor taken away, and is now subject to their torture. Of course, Ender is a really smart boy, so this kind of situation was easy for him to handle. He simply taunted the leader, saying that without his boys he couldn't even touch him. Being the brute already 2 heads taller than Ender, that boy ditched his gang. Ender has been beaten a lot of times by his brother. Ender knows how to fight back. In an instant, the bigger boy is on the floor bleeding. Ender doesn't just stop there. He picks the bigger boy up and beats him up some more to make his message clear to the bystanders. Ender does not like to fight because of many traumatic incidents caused by his brother in his life. Ender thus thinks of his own ways to end a fight. Through fear. He beats the bigger boy senseless to send the message of fear. He completely destroys his opponent to avoid future fights. Little did he know that he killed the kid. A day later, a military official scouts him and enlists him in the army. Of course, this means that he has to be put in a rocket ship and sent up into space. It was a shock to Ender's family that the military still wanted Ender, since they took his monitor away. They did not know about the boy's death, they simply knew of the fight. Nobody except the military knew of the death. Ender doesn't love his family much because of Peter, but he would do anything for his sister. Nobody would have even guessed that this kind-hearted psychopath has a sister complex. Well, too bad. He does. The only reason he goes with the officer into space is to learn to protect his sister from any possible alien invasion. And so, it all begins here. On the ride to the space station, Ender spends time with all the other launchies. They are all about his age. They lack something though. They have never seen pain like Ender. Now all of these kids are people Ender doesn't know. His chance to start fresh. Well, too bad for him. The adults in charge of his sudden monitor removal aren't gonna let him be normal just yet. He is singled out on day 1. By answering a question nobody else can answer, he separates himself from the rest of his peers. Upon reaching the space station known as Battle School, Ender still has no friends. While everyone else has his or her own groups made up already, Ender has no one. Being put into a world he is not from, Ender tries his best. All the battle simulations the kids are trained to complete are too easy for Ender. He becomes very much of an outcast. The people that watch see the traits of a leader in Ender. He is one in a horrendously large sum of numbers. The more people hate him, the more time passes. Soon, they move on to the practical part of training, zero-gravity arenas. With freeze rays and battle helmets, Ender quickly masters zero gravity. But he finds that he is not the only one. This other kid, Ally, seems to be as adept as Ender. Sharing a smile, they both develop a strong bond. It has not even been 2 months into battle school when Ender gets moved to a higher class. Usually, it takes 3 years to graduate, but not for Ender apparently, at least by the standards of the adults in the dark. At age 6, Ender begins the real battle school. He gets put into the Salamander Army. All the 40 kids in this army are surprised to see such a little kid here. The usual, "Are you lost?" question flies around a lot, but Ender just ignores and picks his bunk. The leader of the army is obviously not pleased with the school for sending such a little kid to his army. He is already fired up with all his army's recent losses. Taking his anger on Ender, he beats him around. Ender knows he has no chance against a 12-year-old. Saying nothing, he just goes back to bed. Memories of his sister appear. and the rain falls. They take away his monitor. They take away his family. They take away the friend he finally made. And they push him out there, into more insanity. They want to test him, no doubt, but they care not for his welfare. They only want to use him. There was a bugger invasion in the past. If not for a genius commander, humanity would have lost all hope. But now this commander is dead. So the people at the top need a substitute for him. They will do whatever it takes to save humanity, even if it means to shed their own humanity by manipulating an innocent child. Ender is made to learn at a faster pace, but he simply cannot take the insult of not being able to participate within the Salamander army. When the army's first match does begin, Ender is forced to attend because of the game's rules. Though he is told to wait near the gate and not partake in any kinds of formations, fate forces Ender to lead his team to victory. The game was undoubtedly a loss if Ender had done nothing. However, since Ender did fire his freeze ray, he tied the game. Right after the incident, the leader is undoubtedly mad at Ender for his insubordination. Even though Ender said he had to do something and not just wait there, the leader acknowledges no excuses. The leader, however, is forced to let Ender partake in the army training. The Salamander army soon becomes the team with the most wins. When I understand my enemy well enough to defeat him, then in that moment, I also love him. Ender Andrew Wiggin. Soon, Ender is made a commander of his own army. It has only been 3 years since he started battle school, yet Ender has been promoted very soon. He gets one of the worst armies, which is also said to have a cursed name, Dragon Army. This army was disbanded because of superstitious beliefs in the past. It had never won a single game. Ender chose not to believe in these superstitions and was grateful to be promoted. Ender is totally surprised, however, when he sees his army. He gets all the Launchies with whom he was with when he first arrived. Raw talent was all he had to work with. He decided to look at the positives. At least he had some of his friends with him now. He tries his best to discipline his army. He does practices whenever he has free time, and a week later, he has his first game. The adults are obviously testing his limit, giving him only a week to work with fresh recruits. Somehow, he manages to pull through. Game after game, Ender pulls off a win. Years after, the Dragon Army becomes the best team. The adults behind it all pushed Ender so much that odds simply don't exist in his life. To test this theory, the adults put his team up against 2 teams at once. They give the other team a head start, which they use to hide in Dragon Army's blind spots ahead of time, and the other 2 teams also happen to be 2nd and 3rd in rankings. Salamander Army is 2nd in ranking.
Will kill you.
Can't go back now.
Well, then get in the game. We're losing.
They've got half their troop back near their gate. Put your feet to mine. Read her enemy.
Play dead. Don't draw your weapon until you know you have a shot. In 3, 2, 1.
Being the genius he is, wins that battle, and moves on to the many battles that are yet to come. Ender finishes battle school when he is only 12. this is an achievement, as no one finishes that fast. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ender's brother is becoming a superpower at age 16. He now has great influence in world politics. Ender does not want to continue battle school any longer. It was too hard on him. However, one of the military officials blackmails his sister into getting him to continue and begin command school. Ender falls for the bait and leaves off to a very far off planet. When Ender reaches command school, the most surprising thing there is Mazer Rackham, the legend that defeated the Formics, and he who is said to be dead trains Ender. Ender is made to play simulations against the legend. These simulations are 10 times harder than that which he had to face in battle school. Day after day, the simulations gradually get harder. Ender's tactics never work twice, as it serves difficult for him to even trick the legend once. For Ender's final evaluation, his friends from battle school come in to help. Having his close friends fight along with him as platoon leaders, Ender quickly eradicates most of his enemies. Using his sharp mind, Ender pulls off a win. It is only then that he sees everyone around him overjoyed and starts to wonder about why the simulation was so hard, as if it were real and not a game. Mazer Rackham congratulates Ender on finally destroying the Formics, not a simulation, but the real deal. Ender had been fighting against the Formics all this time. He had thought it was Rackham, but was immediately in tears when all of his evaluators stood up and clapped. The authenticity of the battles he fought were not artificial. He had actually killed a race. He had actually given away the lives of his own men by using most of them as suicide bombers to throw the enemy off. The evaluators knew this. They also knew he wouldn't be able to kill his own men if he knew that this battle was real. He would have never destroyed a planet by charging all his men into it if he knew that those people he controlled had lives too. The shock of the events caused Ender to faint. Days later, when he does wake, the world around him is a different place. Since the time on the planet Earth is different from the one he is currently on, time flows very strangely. Peter is now 87, and also leader of the Earth's alliances. His brother wants Ender, the world wants Ender, and Ender still cannot comprehend what he has done. He settles into a great depression. He is brought out of it only when his sister arrives to see him. Since the world wants Ender to do their bidding, Ender and his sister leave off to faraway galaxies. Ender is on a new quest to find any signs of life from the alien race which he destroyed. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the games in Ender's Game. The concept of a game is, well, the novel's major theme. All of the other important ideas in the novel are interpreted through the context of the games. Ender wins all of the games, but it is not clear what that means. He thinks for a large part of the book that the games are no more than they appear, and he does not realize the real meaning of his final game until it is far too late. The difference between what is a game and what is reality becomes less and less clear as the story unfolds. The very first game played in the book is Buggers and Astronauts, a game that Peter makes Ender play. This is more of a kid's game. However, in Ender's case, the game is more than what it seems, because Peter's hatred for Ender is real. Peter inflicts pain upon Ender in the course of this game. This is the one game that Ender never wins. At battle school, Ender faces two different types of games. On his computer, he plays the mind game, a game that even its creators do not properly understand, and one that affects Ender's life in direct ways. It is through the mind game that Ender is able to come to terms with the changes that are occurring in his life. And these images inside the game are what's used by the Formics to communicate with Ender at the end of the book. In the battle room, Ender plays war games. These games are everything to the kids at school. Their lives revolve around playing games, and so the meaning of the word itself shifts from a voluntary fun experience to a necessary and crucial life aspect. These games and their implications cause the Salamander Army's leader's death, and they create competition throughout the school. Finally, we come to the greatest games that Ender plays. While he is the commander of the new invasion, playing these games affect his life, affect his health. He cannot sleep, he barely eats, and he is forced to be a leader with no friends by his side, no friends that actually care for him. Ender destroys the buggers because he wants the game. He wants the games to end, and he is successful. But if he had ever known that it was not a game, he would have never participated. In the end, it is not very clear how to separate a game from reality. For the playing of a game can have a profound impact on a life, and sometimes the game itself is reality. Lastly, I wanted to talk about compassion in the novel. Compassion is the redeeming feature in Ender's Game. Compassion is a theme that runs through Ender's life. It is the defining feature of Ender's existence. The reason that he plays the games so well is his ability to understand the enemy and to inspire loyalty. More than that, it is compassion that saves Ender. If not for his compassion, he would have turned into a killer. He would have either become a killing machine or a power-hungry creature like his brother. Ender's compassion for the Formics makes it possible for him to make up for destroying their race, and by giving them a chance to start anew. Graf's compassion for Ender causes him to seek his sister, and her compassion, in part, is what saves Ender when he despairs. Even those characters who are not allowed to show their compassion, like the legend Mazer Rackham, later demonstrates that they are capable of it, and it makes them human. Finally, the buggers demonstrate compassion to Ender, and this convinces him that he must make it his mission to see that their queen is found a safe home to start anew. Compassion provides hope for the future.